Jaya Park stared at her reflection in the gleaming metal wall of the Space Academy's training room. She was small for her 17 years, with plain black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Nothing about her looked special. That was the problem. Hey, weakling, still trying to convince yourself you belong here? Daho's voice boomed across the room. His silver-tinted skin and enhanced muscles marked him as one of the elite alien-human hybrids that filled the academy. Jayab took a deep breath and turned around. 20 other students were getting ready for their physical assessment, all of them hybrid species. Some had metallic skin like Daho, others had enhanced strength or extra limbs. She was the only pure human in the class. "Leave her alone," Daho called Hannah Lee from across the room. Hannah's slight green tinge and pointed ears showed her Turanian heritage, but she had always been kind to Jia. "Or are you so weak you can only pick on humans?" Daho's face darkened. "Stay out of this, half-breed." The training instructor, Mr. Kang, walked in before things could get worse. His cybernetic eye scanned the room. "Line up for strength testing." Jaya's heart sank. She knew what was coming. One by one, students stepped up to the gravity chamber. Inside, they had to lift weights while the gravity increased. Daho managed level 8 gravity, about 8 times Earth's normal pull. The class cheered. Even Hannah reached level 5. Then it was Jaya's turn. She stepped into the chamber, her legs already shaking. The first weight wasn't too bad, just 20 kilograms at normal gravity. Then Mr. Kang turned up the gravity to level 2. Jaya's arms trembled. The weight felt like it was crushing her. Sweat dripped down her face as she tried to lift it. The bar moved a few centimeters, then crashed back down. Laughter erupted outside the chamber. "Look at the weak human," someone shouted. "She can't even handle level 2. Mr. Kang shut off the gravity field. His cybernetic eye whirred as he made notes on his tablet. 0 points for the strength test, Miss Park. Again. Jaya walked out of the chamber with her head down, trying to ignore the snickers and whispers. She had known this would happen. It happened every time. Pure humans just weren't built for the physical demands of space travel and exploration. That's why most of humanity had chosen to merge with alien species, creating stronger hybrid children. But Jaya's parents had been traditionalists. They believed in keeping humanity pure, even if it meant being weaker. Now they were gone, lost in a space mining accident, and she was stuck at this academy, trying to prove that pure humans still had value. "Don't listen to them," Hannah said, falling into step beside her as they headed to their next class. "Physical strength isn't everything." "Tell that to the academy board," Jaya replied. "They only care about creating perfect space explorers, and everyone knows pure humans are too weak for deep space." They walked into the quantum mechanics lab, Jaya's favorite place in the academy. Here, at least, she didn't feel completely useless. She understood the complex equations and theories better than most of her classmates, even if she couldn't match their physical abilities. "You got the highest score on last week's quantum theory test," Hannah reminded her. "Higher than Dao." "Great. I can solve equations. That won't help much when we're in deep space and need to repair the ship's hull or fight off space pirates. There's more than one way to be strong," Hannah said, setting up their quantum field generator. "You just haven't found yours yet." Jaya nodded, but she didn't really believe it. She looked around the lab at her classmates, all of them enhanced, all of them stronger, faster, and better adapted for humanity's future among the stars. The Academy's motto gleamed on the wall in holographic letters. Evolution through unity. But there was no unity here, just pure humans like her, falling further and further behind as the rest of humanity evolved beyond them. She didn't know it yet, but tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow, she would discover exactly what Hannah meant about different kinds of strength. But for now, she was just the weak human girl, trying to find her place in a world that had left her kind behind. The quantum mechanics lab was empty and dark when Jaya slipped inside late that night. She often came here after hours to practice alone, away from the judging eyes of her classmates. The quiet helped her think. She walked to her usual workstation and turned on the quantum field generator. Blue light filled the room as the machine hummed to life. According to their textbooks, no one could see quantum fields without special equipment. The generator created visual representations so students could understand what was happening at the quantum level. But Jaya had a secret. She could see them without the machine. Tiny waves and particles of light danced through the air around her all the time. She had first noticed them as a child, but her parents had told her it was just her imagination. Now she knew better. Jaya turned off the generator. The blue light disappeared, but she could still see the quantum field, delicate threads of energy weaving through space. She reached out her hand, wondering for the 100th time if she was going crazy. The threads moved. Jaya gasped. That had never happened before. She moved her hand again, slowly. The quantum threads followed her movement, like seaweed swaying in an invisible current. "This is impossible," she whispered. But she tried again, this time imagining the threads gathering together. They responded, twisting into a loose ball of light above her palm. The door clicked. Jaya jumped. The quantum threads scattered instantly. She spun around to see Director Yoon standing in the doorway, his face lit by the dim emergency lights. "Miss Park," he said calmly, "you're here quite late." "I'm sorry, Director," Jaya said quickly. "I was just practicing for tomorrow's test." Director Yoon walked to the main computer terminal. His fingers moved across the screen, checking readings. "Interesting," he murmured. "The quantum activity sensors are showing unusual patterns. Did you notice anything strange while you were working?" Jaya's heart pounded. "No, sir." Everything seemed normal. He looked at her for a long moment. "You know, Miss Park, there are many kinds of strength in this universe. Physical power is just one of them." "That's not what everyone else thinks," Jaya said before she could stop herself. "Everyone else isn't always right." Director Yoon smiled slightly. "Keep practicing, Miss Park, but perhaps during regular hours from now on." Jaya nodded quickly and gathered her things. As she hurried past him, he spoke again. "And Miss Park, if you ever notice anything unusual, my door is always open." Jaya practically ran back to her dorm room. Her mind was racing. Had Director Yoon seen what she did? Did he know something about the quantum fields? Her roommate was already asleep when she entered. Jaya sat on her bed in the dark, holding out her hand. The quantum threads were still there, invisible to everyone else, but clear as day to her. This time, she kept her movements tiny, barely more than a thought. The threads responded, weaving together into complex patterns. Jaya found that if she concentrated, she could make them move in any way she wanted. It was like having an extra set of hands made of pure energy. A message flashed on her tablet, making her jump. It was from Hannah. "Where were you? Daho was looking for you after dinner. He seemed angry about something." Jaya groaned. She had almost forgotten about Daho. He was probably still mad that she had scored higher than him on the quantum mechanics test. Tomorrow would be difficult. But as she got ready for bed, Jaya couldn't stop smiling. For the first time since coming to the academy, she felt something other than fear and inadequacy. She had a gift, something no one else could do, not even the hybrid students with all their physical advantages. She just had to figure out what it meant, and more importantly, what she was going to do with it. As she drifted off to sleep, the quantum threads danced around her like tiny stars, responding to her dreams. In the monitoring room 6 floors below, Director Yoon watched the quantum activity sensors spike again and made another note in his private file labeled Project Evolution. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. The combat training room buzzed with excitement. Today was partner combat practice, and everyone knew what that meant. The training robots were turned off. Students would fight each other. Jaya stood at the back of the group, trying to make herself invisible. It didn't work. "Partner assignments," Mr. Kang announced, reading from his tablet. He listed several pairs, then paused. Jaya Park and Daeho Kim. Jaya's stomach dropped. Daeho's silver-tinted face broke into a wide smile. "Remember the rules," Mr. Kang said. "Light contact only. This is practice, not real combat. Begin." Hana caught Jaya's arm before she could walk away. "Be careful," she whispered. "Daeho's been bragging about teaching you a lesson." Jaya nodded. The quantum threads she could see were moving wildly around her, responding to her fear. She took a deep breath and tried to calm down. Daeho was waiting in their assigned practice area. "Ready to learn your place, human?" he asked. "This is just practice, Daeho," Jaya said quietly. "We don't have to." He moved faster than she could follow. His enhanced muscles let him cross the space between them in a blur. Jia barely managed to block his first punch, but the force of it sent her stumbling backward. "Too slow," Daeho laughed. "This is why pure humans don't belong here." He struck again. This time his fist grazed her shoulder, spinning her around. Jia caught herself and dropped into a defensive stance like they'd been taught. But Daeho was too fast, too strong. His next hit caught her in the stomach. Jia doubled over, gasping for air. This wasn't practice anymore. Daeho was really trying to hurt her. "Stop." Hana's voice cut through the noise of the training room. "Mr. Kang. He's going too far." But Mr. Kang was busy with other students on the far side of the room. Daeho grabbed Jaya's arm and twisted it behind her back. "No one's going to help you," he hissed in her ear. "You're nothing. Just a weak human hoe." The quantum threads exploded. Jaya didn't mean to do it. She didn't even know she could. But suddenly, the air around them was filled with visible energy, bright enough that everyone in the room could see it. The threads wrapped around Daeho's arm, pulling him away from her. He stumbled back, eyes wide with shock. What are you doing?" Jaya stood up straight, the pain forgotten. The quantum threads moved around her like a protective shield, responding to her anger and fear. She could feel their power now, the way they connected to everything in the room. But before she could do anything else, Daeho recovered from his surprise. His face twisted with rage. "Freak," he shouted. He charged at her, his enhanced strength making the floor shake. Hana jumped between them. "Stop." Everything seemed to happen in slow motion. Daeho couldn't stop his charge. His shoulder slammed into Hana, sending her flying across the room. She hit the wall with a sickening crack and crumpled to the floor. "Hana!" Jia screamed. The quantum threads went wild. They pulsed with bright light, lifting equipment off the floor, making the walls vibrate. Students backed away as the energy filled the room. "What's happening?" someone shouted. "The quantum field generators aren't even on." Jaya ran to Hana, who wasn't moving. The quantum threads followed her, swirling around both of them protectively. She could feel their power growing, responding to her emotions. Mr. Kang finally reached them. "Everyone out," he ordered. "Now." But Jaya barely heard him. She was focused on Hana's still form, on the way the quantum threads were showing her every molecule, every atom of her friend's injured body. Without thinking about how, she knew she could use them to help. As the room emptied, Director Yoon appeared in the doorway. He watched silently as the quantum energy surrounded Jaya and Hana, growing brighter and brighter. The age of pure human weakness was about to end, and Jaya Park would be the one to end it. 3 days had passed since the incident in the combat training room. Hana was in the medical wing, recovering from a broken arm and mild concussion. The doctors said she would be fine, but Jia still felt guilty. She sat alone in the cafeteria, pushing food around her plate. Nobody sat near her anymore. They had all seen what happened with the quantum threads. Now they were scared of her. "Miss Park." Director Yoon's voice made her jump. "Come with me, please." Jaya followed him through the academy's busy halls. They went down several levels in the elevator, deeper than she had ever been before. The walls here were older, made of plain metal, instead of the shiny new materials used above. "Where are we?" she asked. "The old section of the academy," Director Yoon answered. "It was built before the hybrid program began, when all students were human." They stopped at a large door. Director Yoon pressed his hand to the scanner, and it slid open with a hiss. Inside was a huge room filled with old equipment. Dust covered everything. In the center was something that looked like the quantum field generators from the lab, but much bigger. "This was the first quantum research facility," Director Yoon said. "Before we knew that hybrid DNA would make humans stronger, we tried to understand why some humans could naturally sense quantum fields." Jaya stared at him. "There were others like me. There still are, though very few." He walked to the old generator. "Pure humans have something that hybrids don't. Our brains evolved to process quantum information naturally. Most humans lost this ability when they chose to become hybrids. The quantum threads were very clear down here. They moved slowly, peacefully, without the chaos of the upper levels. You can use this room to practice." Director Yoon said, "Nobody comes down here anymore, but be careful. Your power is growing, and you need to learn to control it." "Will you teach me?" He shook his head. "I can't see the quantum fields like you can. Nobody here can. You'll have to learn on your own." After he left, Jaya looked around the room. The quantum threads seemed to be waiting for her. She raised her hand, and they responded immediately, dancing around her fingers. She spent hours practicing that afternoon. She learned that she could make the threads do almost anything. They could lift objects, change their shape, even look inside things to see how they worked. When she got tired, she found an old computer terminal that still worked. It was full of research files about quantum abilities in pure humans. She read about others who could see the quantum fields, how they had learned to use their power. One file caught her attention. It talked about Commander Ta, a pure human who had used quantum abilities to save an entire space station from collapse. The file said he could strengthen or weaken the bonds between atoms themselves. Jaya tried it with a small piece of metal. The quantum threads showed her every atom, every bond holding them together. With careful concentration, she made the bonds stronger. The metal became harder than diamond. Then she tried the opposite, weakening the bonds. The metal turned soft as clay in her hands. Incredible. Jaya spun around. A man in a military uniform stood in the doorway. His name tag read, "Commander Ta." "Director Yoon said you might be down here," he said, walking into the room. "I've been watching the security feeds. You learned in hours what took me years to master." "You're really him?" Jaya asked. "From the research files." He nodded. "There aren't many of us left. Pure humans who can see the quantum world. The hybrids think we're weak because we can't lift heavy things or run fast. But they don't understand real power." He held out his hand. Quantum threads gathered around it, visible even to Jaya's untrained eyes. "Would you like to learn what you can really do?" he asked. Jaya looked at the quantum threads dancing around her own hands. For the first time since coming to the academy, she felt truly strong. "Yes," she said, "I want to learn everything." The academy's main hall was packed with students. Everyone had gathered to hear Director Yoon's special announcement. Jia stood at the back, next to Hana, who had finally returned from the medical wing. "The annual combat tournament begins next week," Director Yoon said from the stage. "As always, participation is voluntary. The winner will receive a special commendation in their space service record." Excited whispers filled the room. The combat tournament was the biggest event of the year. It was where hybrid students showed off their enhanced abilities. "I'm joining," Jaya said quietly. Hannah turned to her in surprise. "Are you sure? After what happened with Daho?" "I've been training. I'm ready." She didn't tell Hannah about her secret practice sessions with Commander Ta. Every night for the past 2 weeks, she had gone to the underground room to learn more about her quantum abilities. She could now control the threads perfectly. though Commander Ta had made her promise to hide her power during the tournament. Use only basic combat moves, he had told her. Save your quantum abilities for when you really need them. The sign-up board filled quickly with names. When Jaya wrote her name at the bottom, people laughed. The weak human is entering. She must want to get hurt. This will be funny to watch. Daho pushed through the crowd. His silver skin gleamed as he wrote his name on the board. Looking forward to meeting you in the ring, he said to Jaya with a cold smile. The first day of the tournament arrived quickly. Jaya's first match was against a girl named My Sun, who had enhanced speed. The fighting ring was a large circle marked on the training room floor. Students packed the viewing areas around it. Begin, Mr. Kang shouted. My Sun moved like lightning, trying to end the fight quickly. But Jaya had learned a lot from Commander Ta. She didn't try to match My Sun's speed. Instead, she watched carefully, waiting for patterns in her opponent's movements. When My Sun attacked again, Jaya was ready. She stepped aside at the last second and used My Sun's own speed against her. The hybrid girl tumbled out of the ring. The room went silent. Winner, Jaya Park, Mr. Kang announced. Nobody laughed this time. They watched more carefully as Jia won her next match, and the one after that. She didn't use any quantum powers, just the basic fighting skills Commander Ta had taught her. She's different, people whispered. How did she get so good? Daho watched from the sidelines, his face getting darker with each of Jaya's victories. She could see him talking with his friends between matches, pointing at her and making angry gestures. In the semifinals, Jaya faced a boy with 4 arms. It was her hardest match yet, but she stayed calm and focused. When he tried to grab her, she slipped through his arms and pushed him off balance. Another victory. This is impossible, someone in the crowd said. She's just a pure human. Jaya saw Director Yoon watching from the upper level. He nodded slightly when their eyes met. Beside him stood Commander Tae, smiling proudly. The final match would be tomorrow. Jaya against Daho. That night, she couldn't sleep. The quantum threads around her moved restlessly, responding to her worry. She knew Daho wouldn't fight fair. He was too angry about being shown up by a pure human. Be careful tomorrow, Hannah said from her bed across the room. I saw Daho and his friends near the power control room after the matches. They were acting suspicious. Jaya nodded. She could feel something bad was coming, but she had worked too hard to give up now. As she finally drifted off to sleep, the quantum threads showed her something strange. Dark shapes moving through the Academy's power systems, planting something that didn't belong there. But before she could understand what she was seeing, sleep took her. Tomorrow would bring the biggest fight of her life. And not just against Daho. The arena was packed for the final match. Every student and teacher at the Academy had come to watch. Nobody wanted to miss the fight between Daho, the top hybrid student, and Jia, the surprising pure human who had made it to the finals. Jaya stood in the preparation room, taking slow breaths. The quantum threads around her were moving wildly, trying to warn her about something. She could feel that the power systems in the walls weren't right, but she didn't know why. Remember your training, Commander Ta said quietly. Stay focused. Trust your instincts. She nodded. Through the door, she could hear the crowd getting louder. Final match. Mr. Kane's voice boomed through the speakers. Daho Kim versus Jia Park. Jaya walked out to scattered applause. Across the ring, Daho entered to loud cheers. His silver skin seemed to shine brighter than usual under the arena lights. I hope you're ready to learn your final lesson, Daho called out. His voice was full of hate. Begin, Mr. Kang shouted. Daho moved fast, but Jaya was ready. She dodged his first attack, then his second. The crowd gasped as she blocked his third punch and landed one of her own. You've been practicing, Daho growled, but it won't help you. That's when Jaya felt it. The quantum threads were showing her something terrible. The power systems in the walls were becoming unstable. Energy was building up where it shouldn't be. Daho attacked again, pushing her toward the corner of the ring. She realized he was forcing her away from the exit. A deep rumble shook the arena. What was that? Someone in the crowd asked. Jaya saw it all through the quantum threads. Daho's friends had sabotaged the power systems. The energy was about to explode, and the blast would hit exactly where she was standing. But it wouldn't just hurt her. The quantum threads showed her that the explosion would take out half the arena. Hundreds of people would be hurt. "Everyone get out," she shouted. "The power system is going to explode." Daho laughed, trying to escape, afraid to lose. Another rumble, louder this time. Now everyone could feel it. Cracks appeared in the walls. "Evacuate the arena," Director Yoon ordered from the viewing platform. Now, people started running for the exits, but Jaya could see through the quantum threads that they wouldn't make it in time. The power buildup was too strong, too fast. She had a choice. She could run and save herself, or she could use her quantum abilities in front of everyone. Commander Ta had warned her to keep her power secret, but the wall exploded. Jaya didn't think. She reached out with her power, making the quantum threads visible to everyone. They filled the arena with bright light, wrapping around the explosion like a net. People stopped running and stared. Even Daho stood frozen, watching as Jaya controlled the quantum energy with her hands. She could see every molecule of the explosion, every atom of the damaged walls. Following her instincts, she used the quantum threads to stabilize them, rebuilding broken bonds, strengthening weak points. The rumbling stopped. The cracks in the walls disappeared. "Impossible," Daho whispered. Jaya turned to face him, quantum energy still swirling around her like a beautiful storm. "No, Daho, not impossible. This is what pure humans can really do. We don't need enhanced muscles or silver skin. We have something much more powerful." Director Yoon's voice cut through the silence. "The tournament is over. Daho Kim, you and your friends will report to my office immediately. We tracked your sabotage through the security systems." Daho's face went pale. Security officers surrounded him, leading him away. Jaya let the quantum threads fade until only she could see them again. She felt tired but proud. She had saved everyone, and now they knew the truth about pure human abilities. Hannah ran up and hugged her. "That was amazing. Why didn't you tell me you could do that?" "I was afraid," Jaya admitted, "but I'm not afraid anymore." The crowd of students gathered around her, asking questions, wanting to know more. For the first time, they weren't looking at her with scorn or pity. They were looking at her with respect. Jia sat in Director Yoon's office, still tired from using her quantum powers. Commander Ta stood by the window, looking out at the stars. The office walls were covered with old pictures of the academy, showing pure humans in spacesuits. "It's time you learned the truth," Director Yoon said. He pressed a button on his desk, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed Earth and its space colonies, all connected by glowing lines. "The Space Academy wasn't created to train hybrid students," he said. "That came later. The Academy's real purpose was to find pure humans who could see quantum fields." Jaya leaned forward. "But why?" "Because pure humans are evolving," Commander Ta said. "Not in the way the hybrids did, with physical changes. Our evolution is happening in our minds." Director Yoon nodded. 50 years ago, we discovered the first human who could see quantum fields. She was a young girl like you. She could look at the fabric of space itself and understand it. We thought she was just special, just one person." He changed the hologram. Now it showed more people, all pure humans, all with the same quantum ability. "But more people like her started appearing," Commander Ta said. "Always pure humans, never hybrids. That's when we realized what was happening. The human brain was evolving," Director Yoon continued, "developing new ways to understand the universe. The hybrid program was actually hurting this evolution. When humans mixed their DNA with alien species, they lost the ability to develop quantum powers. Jaya thought about all the hybrid students who had made fun of her. But everyone thinks pure humans are weak. That's what we wanted them to think, Commander Ta said. We needed to protect pure humans while they evolved. If everyone knew about quantum abilities, they might try to stop the evolution. Or worse, try to take the power for themselves. There are others like me, Jaya asked. Director Yoon changed the hologram again. It showed a hidden space station, far from Earth. Many others. We've been finding them and training them in secret. Some work as scientists, exploring the quantum nature of space. Others are engineers, using their powers to build things no one thought possible. But why keep it secret? We could show everyone that pure humans aren't weak. It's not that simple, Commander Ta said. Some people are scared of change. They think hybrid evolution is the only right path. If they knew about quantum powers, they might try to stop pure humans from developing them. That's why we created the hybrid program at the Academy, Director Yoon explained. It was a cover. While everyone focused on physical strength, we could quietly find and help humans with quantum abilities. Jaya looked at the quantum threads dancing around her hands. But now everyone knows. They saw what I can do. Yes, Director Yoon smiled. And maybe that's a good thing. Times are changing. Maybe it's time for pure humans to show their true strength. What happens now? Jaya asked. That depends on you, Commander Ta said. We have a special program for people with quantum abilities. You could join the others at the hidden station, learn everything about your powers. Or, Director Yoon added, you could stay here, help us find others like you. Show everyone that there's more than one kind of strength. Jaya watched the quantum threads move through the air. She thought about all the pure humans who felt weak and useless, just like she had. They needed to know the truth. I want to stay, she said. I want to help others understand their powers. Director Yoon and Commander Ta smiled. We hoped you would say that. Commander Ta said. The age of hiding is over. It's time for a new chapter in human evolution. Outside the office window, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Jaya could see the quantum threads connecting them all, a web of energy holding the universe together. And humans, pure, unchanged humans, were finally learning to see it too. A week after the tournament, the Academy felt like a different place. The halls were buzzing with excitement instead of mockery. Students who had once laughed at pure humans now wanted to learn more about quantum abilities. Jaya stood at the front of the quantum mechanics lab, facing a mixed group of pure human and hybrid students. Director Yoon had asked her to teach them about quantum perception. The quantum threads are always there, she explained, making them visible for everyone to see. They connect everything in the universe. Most pure humans can learn to see them with practice. In the back of the room, Daho sat quietly. After his friends had been expelled for the sabotage, he had been given one last chance. Part of his punishment was attending Jaya's quantum awareness classes. Can hybrid students learn to see them too? Someone asked. No, Jaya said gently. But that's okay. Hybrids have their own special abilities. The universe needs all kinds of strength. She demonstrated how the quantum threads could be used to understand complex systems. The students watched in wonder as she showed them the quantum structure of a simple flower, every atom glowing with energy. After class, Daho stayed behind. His silver skin seemed less bright now, as if he was trying not to stand out. I'm sorry, he said, looking at the floor. For everything. I was wrong about pure humans being weak. Jaya nodded. Thank you. But it's not about who's weak or strong. It's about understanding each other's gifts. Could you? He hesitated. Could you show me more about how you see the world? I want to understand. Jaya smiled. She made the quantum threads visible again, showing him how they moved through the air, through his silver skin, through everything. It's beautiful, he said softly. Word spread quickly through the academy. More pure human students started coming forward, admitting they had seen strange things, felt connections they couldn't explain. Jia worked with each of them, helping them understand their developing abilities. Hana helped too, using her technical skills to create new tools for measuring quantum energy. "Just because I can't see the threads doesn't mean I can't help study them," she said with a grin. Commander Ta brought scientists from the hidden space station to meet Jia's students. They were amazed at how many young pure humans were showing quantum awareness. "The evolution is happening faster than we thought," one scientist said. "Soon, this ability might be common in all pure humans." Even the Academy's teaching methods changed. Instead of focusing only on physical combat and strength, classes now included quantum theory and perception training. Pure humans and hybrids worked together, each learning from the other's strengths. One evening, Jia found Director Yoon in the old underground training room. He was looking at the ancient equipment with a peaceful smile. "My grandmother was the first," he said when he saw Jia, "the first human to see quantum fields. She always said that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to change, to see the world in new ways." "She was right," Jia said, watching the quantum threads dance through the old machinery. "But she forgot something important." "What's that?" "Our greatest strength isn't just changing ourselves. It's helping others understand the change. That's what makes us truly strong." Director Yoon nodded. "That's why you're such a good teacher, Jia. You don't just show people your power, you help them find their own." As if to prove his point, they heard footsteps on the stairs. A group of students, both pure human and hybrid, had come for evening practice. They worked together now, the hybrids helping with physical training while the pure humans shared what they knew about quantum fields. Jia watched them with pride. The old barriers were breaking down. The old fears were fading. In their place, something new was growing. An understanding that true strength came in many forms, and that everyone, pure human or hybrid, had something valuable to share. The quantum threads seemed to glow brighter, as if they too were celebrating this new understanding. 1 year had passed since Jia first discovered her quantum abilities. The Space Academy had changed completely in that time. The old sign reading "Evolution through Unity" still hung on the wall, but now it meant something different. Jia stood in her new classroom, watching her students file in. Some had silver skin like Daho, some had extra limbs or enhanced strength, and others were pure humans with growing quantum abilities. They all sat together, no separation between hybrids and pure humans. "Today we have special guests," Jia announced. A group of nervous-looking pure human children stood at the door. "These are our newest students. They're here because they've started seeing quantum threads." The children looked scared, just as Jia had been on her first day. But instead of laughter, they were met with friendly smiles. "Welcome to quantum training," Hana called from her desk, where she monitored energy readings with her special equipment. The children relaxed a little. Jia made the quantum threads visible, filling the room with their gentle light. "Everyone sees the universe differently," she said. "Hybrid students might see it through enhanced eyes or feel it through stronger bodies. Pure humans might see it through quantum threads, but we're all looking at the same beautiful universe." She noticed Daho helping one of the new students find a seat. He had become one of her best teaching assistants, using his experience to help pure humans feel welcome. Commander Tai appeared at the door, watching with pride. He had just returned from the hidden space station, where more quantum-sensitive humans were being discovered every day. "Ready for the demonstration?" he asked Jia. She nodded. This was something they had been practicing for weeks. "Everyone outside," Jia called to her class. They hurried to the Academy's garden, a new addition she had helped create. The students formed a circle. Jia stood in the center with Commander Ta. Together, they reached out to the quantum threads that ran through the garden. "Watch closely," Jia said. "This is what happens when different kinds of strength work together." Commander Ta used his quantum abilities to strengthen the atomic bonds in the soil. Jia gathered energy from the air. The hybrid students could see the plants growing faster than normal, their enhanced eyes catching every detail. Within minutes, new flowers bloomed. Pure human students helped guide the quantum energy, while hybrid students used their strength to support the growing plants. Everyone played a part. That was amazing. One of the new students said, "Will we learn to do that too?" "You'll learn to do much more," Jaya promised. "But first, you'll learn something more important. You'll learn that being different isn't a weakness. It's a gift." Later that day, Director Yoon called Jia to his office. The old pictures of the academy were still there, but now they were joined by new ones. Pictures of pure humans and hybrids working together, quantum energy glowing around them. "The other academies want to start quantum training programs," he said. "They're asking for teachers." Jaya smiled. "Are they ready to accept pure humans?" "More than ready. They've seen what we can do here. They want to learn from our example." She looked out the window at the stars. The quantum threads connected them all, just like they connected every person in the academy. "I'll help train the teachers," she said. "Both pure human and hybrid. Everyone should have a chance to share their gifts." That evening, Jaya walked through the academy halls one last time before heading home. She passed the combat training room, where she had first revealed her powers, now converted into a quantum practice space. She saw the old underground room, where she had learned to control her abilities, now full of students practicing together. A small group of new students stopped her in the hall. "Miss Park," one asked shyly, "is it true that you were once considered the weakest student here?" Jaya nodded. "I was. But I learned something important. True weakness isn't in your body or your genes. It's in believing that only one kind of strength matters." She made the quantum threads dance around them, drawing smiles from pure humans and hybrids alike. "Remembered," she said, "the universe is full of wonders. Some of us see them through quantum fields, some see them through enhanced eyes, but we all see them better when we look together." The quantum threads pulsed with soft light, as if agreeing with her words. In their glow, no one looked weak or strong, pure or hybrid. They just looked like students, ready to learn about the amazing universe they shared.